Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. This is Alex Greenwood, your host. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I know it's been a while since our last show, but as I'm fond of saying, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. I think John Lennon coined that one. Lots of things been going on. Not going to bore you with it now, because straight ahead we have an interview. I was really excited to get an interview with Scott Mickelson, also known as Mickelson, who is one of the hottest indie musicians on the scene today. He was Grammy-balloted for his last album called Flickering. He has done a lot of incredible stuff, and we're going to get to Scott in just a moment. I wanted to catch you up on a couple of things with me. Just a reminder that the sixth book in the John Pilot Mystery Series is in production. I'm working on finishing it up, getting it to my editor now, and I'm hoping for a Halloween release for Pilot's Rose. If you're new to the series, I've picked up some new readers recently who said they really like it, and they bought the entire series. And I can prove they did it because I sold it to them. If you're listening to this show and you're enjoying this series, I appreciate you reading. And I'm excited to tell you that you'll have yet another edition of The Adventures of John Pilot in your hot little hands by Halloween. So let's shoot for that. Only a year late. What's the big deal, right? I'm excited to tell you that. And then after that, I've got some plans to move away from John Pilot for a little while, but not forever, but for a while. But we'll talk about that in a different show. Because today we're lucky to have San Francisco-based musician, artist, producer, singer-songwriter Mickelson on the show. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Scott before we get started, because when I had Scott, he didn't have a lot of time and we had to jump right in. He's on tour. He had done a date here in Kansas City after doing some dates in Chicago and I think Minneapolis and Omaha and a few other places. But anyway, we were really lucky to get him and talk to him. And I think you'll find his insights into the creative process, even if you're not a musician, interesting. If you're a writer, I think you'll find some parallels here. And Scott, incidentally, he doesn't mention in the interview, he did write a popular children's book a few years ago, but he focuses his time now on being a singer-songwriter and producer. And he has a new album he's going to drop, which you're going to hear about. And there's really cool. I have a version of one of the songs on the album that we're going to get to play in the interview. And Scott has cautioned me that this is probably going to get tweaked a little bit before the album comes out this fall. So it's a real treat for Mysterious Goings On listeners to get a chance to listen to Scott's or part of Scott's album. It'll be a little piece of history there, considering that it's not the final version. If you want to know more about Scott, go to Mickelson. It's Mickelson music.com. You'll find his bio there, but I'll just give you a little hint of that before we get to the interview. Through a career that spanned 5 full-length releases with his band Fat Opie, a struggle with a long-term illness, and a career as a fine artist, Scott Mickelson has persevered. And with his debut solo release, Flickering, Mickelson delivers his most critically acclaimed work. Of course, he's got a new one coming, so we'll see. Mickelson is singing the stories of those living their lives in contemporary America, as fragmented as it is. Flickering was on the 2015 Grammy-ballot in 2 categories, Best Folk Album and Best Roots Music Performer. Scott is well deserving of that, and I foresee Scott eventually getting that Grammy. But I don't want to jinx him any, and he's probably listening to this and rolling his eyes and wanting to reach through his iPhone or whatever and punch me for saying that. But I really think he's just that good. And I had the rare treat of being able to listen to his new album that is coming out this fall. He had just mastered it. I know he's going to tweak it a little bit, but I basically got to hear the entire album and I was blown away. So anyway, you can find out a whole lot more about Scott on his website at mickelsonmusic.com. But right now, why don't we hear from the man himself? Ladies and gentlemen, my interview with Mickelson. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so new album coming out.
Yes.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
Okay.
It's a Wondrous Life, is that right?
A Wondrous Life, yes. It's a line in the opening track. It's for me, it's a bit of a departure because a lot of my songs have talked a lot about struggling and persevering. And with this record, I feel like things are going much better in my life, and it's a little more optimistic. And even though it's slightly tongue-in-cheek, I thought that was a good new approach for this next cycle of my career.
Well, it's interesting. I'm a big fan of Flickering, your last album, which got you on the Grammy ballot. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Who knows what this will bring? Let's not try to jinx it though.
Yeah.
But I'm such a huge fan of that sound of yours, which is so distinctive. And I've been privileged to get to listen to about 99% of the new or 95% or whatever of the new album. And, you know, no bullshit here. I love it. It's great, but it's I don't want to call it a departure because it's still you, but it's not what I expected, and it's got a rock edge to it that I didn't expect. Am I on the right?
Yeah, you are. I mean, music I was doing in the late '90s and early 2000s. I was definitely an alt rock artist with a band, and so people who've known me for a long time will see some similarities. And but yeah, I don't go into any new record with a preconceived notion of what the production is going to be. I just kind of start doing my thing with the songs. And in this case, on the last record, on Flickering, I had been writing with and for a band for so long that for Flickering, it was the first time I could just work with any musicians I wanted and just open up the production to doing anything I wanted without having to worry about, having parts for the bass player and the other people in the band. So I worked with close to 25 different musicians on Flickering, whereas with this one, I decided I wanted to try to play almost all of it myself. And mostly, it's not like an ego thing. A lot of it was that because I'm very busy as a producer now, I have a limited time on when I can work on my stuff. So the idea of, I was thinking, trying to schedule more singers and other people, in the time it would take me to schedule it, if I had a couple hours, I could just lay it, so, and I like the technical challenge. And so I used the drummer named Frank Reyna, who I played with in the 80s, believe it or not. And he's the best drummer I've ever worked with by far. He was Scott Weiland's drummer, and he's played with all kinds of people.
Oh, wow.
And so I was playing a show in LA, and I asked if I could crash at his house that night. And I realized, he has a drum studio. I mean, that's what he does for a living. So I said, well, I'm here. Why don't we lay a couple tracks? And then I flew him up, and he laid all the tracks. So that was just really great. And it set such a great foundation for the record. And then the only other artists I have playing on it are the musicians. I have Dennis Anetta, who played on electric guitar on Flickering, and he's been playing with me live for the last couple of years. He's a good friend. And then I had a piano player who I've used in the studio for other clients, do a couple of piano tracks for stuff that was more like real piano playing. I play all the piano on the other stuff, but when I do the liner notes, you'll know the two that he does. And then, of course, I didn't play horn. So on one song, there's a trombone and tuba, which are both played by Luke Curley, who I used on Heads Too Small.
On Flickering.
Yeah, on Flickering, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you're not afraid to go to those forbidden instruments. I mean, you play the banjo, you have tuba, trombone. I mean, that's not the usual fare.
I guess. I mean, and I guess in New Orleans it is. I mean, I just, like I said, I just grab what I want to use at the time. On Flickering, I wrote, I think 7 or 8 of the tracks I think were written on banjo, and the other ones on guitar. Where on this one, I think there's only 2 banjo songs, and the rest is I wrote on guitar, so it's different.
I think that's why I took that away. That there was more of a rock edge to it, because it's more like you're sprinkling some banjo into this one rather than leading with the banjo.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the songs that have the banjo, I wrote from the banjo.
Yeah.
It was never an afterthought. And also, I think because I've been producing so much since Flickering and having to do electric guitar on my clients' records, I guess interested in playing more electric guitar. I do like doing it. I just don't do it that often. But I certainly like tracking it and arranging, electric guitar.
Yeah.
So,
well, from a creative standpoint, that's one of the reasons we're excited to have you on the podcast here. But from a creative standpoint, I'm always curious, and pardon me if it's a little hackneyed a question, but
it's okay. You're from the Midwest.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And by the way, we're recording this at my home in Kansas City because Scott's been touring Chicago and Omaha and a few places. Yeah. So, but I was going to ask. I know a lot. You get this kind of question a lot, but just because a lot of our listeners are really into the creative process, so is it lyrics first? Is it music first? Does it change?
For me, it's always music first, and I usually work out some riffs or chord progressions on an instrument and then start screaming out melodies. And when I feel like I have a melody and a chordal progression that's working, I go into whatever notes I've scavenged and collected. And I don't really sit there and say I'm going to write a song about this or a song about that. I liken it to being it's like a collage. I just collect a lot of words and phrases and ideas and scratch them on pieces of paper. And then when I get ready to actually start penning a song, I just look at these pieces of paper on my desk or on the floor and try to collage some elements together and see if I can, sew together some kind of a story out of it. And that's how I've been doing it for 25 years.
I mean, even a fortune cookie or something?
Anything. It could be from anything.
Because there's a line we were talking about offline I'm sorry, which song was that? Where the tongue is the heart of a fool.
The tongue is that was, there was a book of Chinese proverbs. I took, on Flickering, there's that song, the one that has the Arabian feel, the Middle Eastern feel. Shoot. But there's a couple of lines in that song that were from the same day. I was mixing Flickering in tiny telephone studios in San Francisco, and like in the bathroom or somewhere that they had a book of Chinese proverbs. So I scratched them down. But
yeah. I like that, and I think your listeners. It's interesting because there's some people who they don't really listen to the lyrics, which surprises me because, well, of course, I'm a writer, so I'm into the lyrics big time. But I have friends who are like, I don't listen to lyrics. I don't bother with them. But I think listeners who check out Scott's work will note that there not only are there lush melodies and these wonderful layers of musicianship that are fantastic, but the lyrics are right there with it, and that's why I am confessing to be fascinated by your process, because you say to me, I start with music, but to me, I'm sitting here hearing it and I'm going, no. He surely had this idea for this song, these lyrics. He wanted to say something, but that's totally not it, huh?
No. And as a matter of fact, I don't, a lot of times I really don't know what the song is about till much, much later. And when I usually, it takes me a while to even figure out how to introduce a song, as to what it's about, because I'm still trying to sort it out myself. That's.
Does a song continue to have a life as you tour? Does it change at all when you play, or do you pretty well keep it the same?
I may change phrasing, and by the time I play any new song live, I've probably played it 40, 50 times at home just to memorize it, and I don't really think I changed it that much. No, I don't think I rewrite things.
Yeah. How does your work as a producer inform your work as an artist yourself? Do you pick up things by helping other artists?
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example of something like that?
Well, I mean, every artist you work with, or musician, just a hired player, if you're not learning something, there's always something you can learn. It's whether it's learning how to deal with something musically, how to communicate something in words that apply to anybody's skill level. I don't read or write music, so if I have to explain to a horn player or a drummer what I want, I have to be able to articulate these things, and so I've had to learn from other people what they need for me to be able to communicate that. And there's also a lot of psychology. And also, I really challenged my clients as songwriters. We spend a lot of time developing their songs before we ever record anything. Just with the basic guitar or piano and vocal and lyrics, and really make the song work. And I won't record anything until the song works. And every time I help somebody rewrite a song, it's because I can't just make it the way I want to do it all the time. I have to appreciate what they're doing with their song. And so I learn, instead of me always going back to the same toolbox that I always use, it's, putting different tools in the box to work from. So I'm always learning something. Yeah. You can get very set in your ways, and if you don't get in the way of yourself, you'll just become better at what you do.
Is there a type of music that doesn't interest you? Is there a genre you or maybe a better question might be, is there a genre of music that you haven't really explored that you want to? Maybe that's a better question.
I think I'd like to. I haven't produced a full band in a while. I've been working mostly with solo artists, and it'd be nice to work with a band a little bit more, even if it's tracked individually. Because a lot of what I've been doing is I've had to build all the rhythm sections and basically everything.
Right.
So it'd be nice to find a band that has the songs somewhat hashed out and the arrangements somewhat hashed out, and then push that a little further. And so I think that would be a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Do you think that also might involve psychology again?
All psychology.
Is the producer's role also kind of with a full band as referee as well?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, I would say 80% of it is psychology, and it's you got to be really careful because we're all sensitive, And I've been on the other side when being produced and been offended and hurt, and so I try to be thoughtful about that. But yes, there's psychology in bands. I mean, I was producing a band in LA a few years ago. It was on Aslan Records. It was actually a Latin jazz band, a bunch of 20-year-old know-it-alls.
Aren't they all?
And the piano player and the drummer used to tour with the Beastie Boys, so they were very confident. But they had never recorded in a 24-track recording studio, and they were great live, but they had not had the experience of doing it in the studio. So that was really trying. And you find, at least in that situation, one player saying something to you and another player saying, and they're like using you as the hub,
right?
So it's, it's fun. I mean, but a lot of it is psychology. And also a lot of it is making the artist just feel comfortable and confident in order to get them to do their best performance. A lot of singers who haven't sung a lot, they hear themselves and they hear the pitchiness and they hear issues, or they've never harmonized with themselves, or and it's you want them to feel like they can do it. You can do it just because you haven't done it, or maybe it might take a few times you'll get it, and there's a lot of that. Or especially when it comes to lead vocal tracks, singer-songwriters who have been used to singing things the same way. This is how I've always sung it, and this is how I sing it, and then in my ears I'm hearing it for the first time, and if something always sounds off or wrong or clumsy, it's my job to make it sound more like a record, make it more fluid, and it can be very challenging for a singer to all of a sudden sing something differently and learn it a new way. So those kinds of things need to be handled very cautiously.
Sure. I think this would be a great time. You've been kind enough to let me play a track, right, on the show. What are we going to... Why don't you introduce the track for me real quick?
Crazy is the only place for a saint. Yeah.
All right. That's coming up, and that's we're going to play Crazy is the Only Place for a Saint from A Wondrous Life by...
Just Mickelson.
Mickelson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not the golfer. Mickelson. We'll be right back after the song. Give it a listen.
TV on till dawn, channel up, volume down. love and to gaze upon. When there's no one else around. Don't tell me this drinking is bad for my health. If God made anything better, He kept it for Himself. He ain't sharing. The witch hunt has begun. I should hold my tongue, oh, but I won't. So lodge your complaint. The only thing holding up these walls is the paint. Crazy is the only place for a saint. Sleeping on the couches in the apartments of my friends. Just like their carpets and starting to wear thin. You won't find my biography up on your coffee table. I'll clear out of here as soon as I am able. Not soon enough. My train of thought, it must have jumped the rails again. All aboard and lodge your complaint. The only thing holding up these walls is the paint. Crazy is the only place for a saint. I got a Mustang for a day. I should make my getaway. But crazy is the only place for a saint. I was left in the open for too long, they say, but was smoothed by years of use. So lodge your complaint. The only thing holding up these walls is the paint. Crazy is the only place for a saint. Crazy is the only place for a saint. Crazy is the only place.
Wow, Scott, that's one of my, I mean, you're being kind. You're letting me basically pick because that's the one I really liked. I like them all, but that track really, I heard you play it live first, obviously, and then I got to hear the produced version, and I'm one of the first people to hear this mastered album, so that one really sticks with me, and I congratulations on a fantastic piece of work.
Oh, thanks.
How long did it take you?
To make the record?
Yeah.
From the actual writing of the songs kind of began after Flickering, so 3 years.
Is that about your average?
It's usually 2 years, but I got so busy producing other records that it really slowed down me doing mine.
Right.
And I do find it really hard to, if I'm completely immersed in other people's records, it really does slow me down writing. It really cuts into it.
Yeah.
I was doing a record in 2015, and I just didn't write anything the whole time because I was working with one artist all the way through his record. And as soon as that record was done, I wrote half of these songs, like, very quickly. So it's hard for me to, it's only so much brain space, you know? And
tell me about it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm at the point now where I need to really start writing my next record because I'm already I've been working on these for years and performing them. So, I mean, solo, but not with the band yet.
Well, and I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you're busy. You've got a lot of things going on, but I wanted to ask you just about one side of the business that you're in, and that's the thing that a lot of our writers who listen to the show will be interested in. There are parallels. For example, we're both. I'm an indie author. You, for all intents and purposes, indie musician, and so that means we are also our own publicist, our own. Well, you produce your own stuff, right? So,
yeah, engineer and producer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have an editor, of course, for me because so that kind of has that role for me, and
right.
My editor is good enough to tell me when something really sucks, so that's important. But I was gonna. The only thing I can liken to touring is, of course, doing a book tour, which I've done a couple book signings, things like that, and just gave me a taste of how horrific a real full-fledged book tour must be. Going city to city and sitting behind a table and signing and then reading and. Yeah, that sounds awful to me. So I'm curious about the state of music today. So you tour to make a living, correct?
Yeah, I would say I made almost 50-50. Half of my income was from touring and half was from producing. But I think this year it's going to be more on the producing side, at least the way it looks now.
Well, is the business changing from when you first started?
Well, from when I first started, there used to be a record business. There isn't a record business anymore. Yeah. So it's really changed. People don't buy records anymore. So there is no record business. It's really changed. It's all Spotify.
Yeah.
So I used to. If you couldn't make a lot of money off of club doors and that kind of thing, you could bank on merchandise and selling CDs and things like that. And no one buys CDs because it's a dead medium at this point. So you hope people buy T-shirts and other things, and it's just really, I've seen the contrast between last year and this year. People are buying much less, even for the most part.
Is that a cycle, or are you worried that it's a trend?
I know I know it's because people look at your cars, look at your computers. No one's buying CDs. There's no CD players anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, I'll do some vinyl, and there are downloads. But again, why would anyone want to buy music if they can just hear anything they want at any time for free on Spotify? So I think that was the last nail in the coffin for the music business, personally.
Oh, yeah.
And people still need to make music, and there are still production costs. And fortunately for me, I can make my own, but there are still mastering costs and other costs involved. And it's not like you used to make your CDs, and after you sold the first 10% of them, you've covered your costs or whatever. Those principles don't really hold up anymore, at least in my world.
So going forward, though, you have no plans to stop, right? This is what you do, right? So
yeah. I've been trying to quit since I was 17. So
I'm glad you didn't. I really am. Do you have another tour lineup? Or as we're speaking now, it's early August 2017. So I know you're just getting back off kind of a short tour. Are you going to tour again anytime soon, or what are you going to do?
I think I have a couple of dates in October and in November, one in the Northwest and in the Southwest. I'm not sure if I'm going to turn those into tours. Right now I'm a little tired, and I need to, when I get back to San Francisco, I need to make a couple of videos and do my album art, and kind of, I have my record release show in November. So I need to kind of stay local and focus on all the other elements that go along with the new record. And also I have a lot of clients who have been patiently waiting for me to mix their music and do their stuff. So yeah, I the way I'm feeling at the moment, I'm not dying to get on the road in the very near future, unless a great opportunity comes along. But I've done a lot. The last 5 years I've been really touring a lot, and
Yes, yeah. He's got the fatigue going. That's for sure, guys. Hey, Scott, this is great. Where can people find you and your music online and everywhere?
Mickelsonmusic.com, and that is my website. And then from there, there's links to everything. The new record the way it looks now, I'll be releasing it in November, but I'm not really sure. I think the best thing to do is check my website, and I don't know, the traditional thing of I'm going to put it on iTunes and now it's released. I'm going to think a little bit more on how and what releasing a new record is these days. So I am going to do vinyl though, just because my brother wants one. So
I think I might want to get one too.
Yeah, so I'll do some of those, but I'm actually thinking I might just do flash drives, that have all the downloads for all my records and the artwork and the lyrics and
well, that's a clever idea.
Yeah, and T-shirts and.
Yeah. Well, you can find Scott again at Mickelson, and that's Mickelson music.com. The links will be in the show notes, so if you're driving, don't stop the car and write it down. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but again, this has been a great conversation. I could talk for a lot longer. I could tell you, but he's got to go to some things, and we're just excited to have had you here, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was my pleasure. And remember, the album is called Wondrous Life. It'll be out this fall. Just stick around his social media. You're also on Facebook and
Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Yeah, just if you go to my website, all those links are on the front page.
Yeah, and remember this guy was on the Grammy ballot for the previous album, Flickering, which is fantastic. He was up for Best Folk Album and Best Roots Music Performance. So this guy's got some cred, and I hope you enjoyed the song. And thanks again, Scott, for letting us play it. And I think if can I just play out a snippet with another song?
Sure.
Not the whole song, just a snippet.
Yeah.
Which one do you think would be good?
A lot of people like No Such Luck. It's I think it's the second track on the record.
Okay.
And kind of an upbeat, tongue-in-cheek thing about how we tend to bite off more than we can chew and keep ourselves in a state of distress for no reason.
That sounds familiar. That sounds really familiar. Well, that's great. Okay, well, this is on our way out. Thanks again. By the way, just a little note to my listeners here. Sorry I've been away for a while. I'm busy working on Pilot's Rose, the next book in the series, and that'll be out hopefully by Halloween. More on that later. This is Scott Mickelson, and until next time, keep reading.
You got it all sorted out against all boardroom opinion. Nothing is wasted in this tiny nearly covered man. I'm doing all I can to accomplish your mission, but you move a mile a minute. Ticking. But no such luck. Don't buy the trailer if you can back it up. The longer road, well, it makes you sweat, but the shorter road, it makes you bleed. The odometer that you've always kept is giving you answers you won't need, so you move a mile a minute, and you're taking me with it. You need to park, but no such luck. Don't buy the trailer if you can't back it up. And don't you know, a little less muscle, a little more soul.
Get a credit card that gives you what you need now. A low interest rate on everyday purchases, and a place to transfer high interest rate balances. The PenFed Gold Contactless Card is our lowest interest rate credit card. You can even earn a $100 statement credit when you spend $1,500 in the first 90 days. Join PenFed, and together we can help you keep more of what's yours. Visit PenFed.org/goldcard. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA. Get a credit card that gives you what you need now. A low interest rate on everyday purchases and a place to transfer high interest rate balances. The PenFed Gold Contactless Card is our lowest interest rate credit card. You can even earn a $100 statement credit when you spend $1,500 in the first 90 days. Join PenFed, and together we can help you keep more of what's yours. Visit PenFed.org/goldcard. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.